Hey, Laura here from the Unprofessional, and today I'm going to show you how I turned wasted attic closet space into a really functional wall-to-wall closet. This was a multi-step project, and you can see videos for the specific steps, like how I made the closet doors and how I extended the closet track, right here on my channel. Here's what I started with: a blank sloped wall. My original plan was just to make 3 built-ins, add an IKEA dresser and some closet rods, and then trim to make it look more incorporated. But let's be real for a second. Sometimes closets aren't this clean, and it helps to be able to just close the doors. So I had some problem solving to do in order to hang wall-to-wall doors on an angled wall. I was also certain that I wanted 3 tracks instead of 2 so that I could open 2/3 of my closet at one time. For this closet, I'm going to build bypass doors. Actually 3, so maybe they're tri-pass doors. I'm going to build tri-pass doors because I don't have a lot of space in this room. I don't have enough floor space for the doors to open. So let me show you what my plan is, because in order to make that work on a sloped ceiling, I'm going to need to create a header with an angle so that I have something to attach the tracks to that are level. So this is my plan. Imagine this is a 2x6. It is not, but imagine that it is. This is going to go on the ceiling with some wedge pieces. I already cut these wedge pieces. Do you want to see a really cool trick? Let me show you how I find the angle for these wedge pieces. The first thing you want to do is you want to take a board and you want to line it up so that you know it's 90 degrees. Now, I know this is 90 degrees because I installed it. But if you didn't know it was 90 degrees, you could just use a level, like put a level right here. Then you take another board right up here. And you see what this does? This creates an angle right here. And this that's your ceiling angle. So all I have to do now is cut wedges here to account for the angle here. Okay, so like I was saying, I cut a bunch of these wedge pieces, and these wedge pieces are going to go here on the wall. They're going to actually attach to this header. I will attach another board under here. You see how that's going to work? It's going to be great. The reason it's a 2x6 is because for the tri-pass doors, I'm actually going to need that much space. So that's why I'm using 2x6 instead of a 2x4. I'm attaching directly to the rafters so that the weight of the doors will be divided between the 2x6s at each end of the closet and the rafters. This will allow me to have an extra wide opening without a heavy-duty header, which would take up too much of the precious little space that I have. Finding the rafters was important for 2 reasons. 1, the weight-bearing issue that I just mentioned, and also because I needed to make sure that I don't place the wedge pieces where I need to attach the board to the rafter. So when I transpose this, I don't have to be exact. I just have to make sure that if this is my rafters here, that my wedge piece goes here. Because I'm going to hold it up and I'm going to drill it in, and I can't have the wedge pieces in the way or I won't be able to drill through. There's probably a better way to attach wedges, but I don't have an abundance of clamps or a lot of workspace, so here's what I did. I lined the wedges up offset to the rafters, stood the board up on its side, tipped the wedges up one at a time on its nose, and toenailed each one in place. Amazingly enough, this worked, and it kept them all nice and flush with the edge of the header, which was really useful later on when I attached the trim. Then I flipped the board over and drove 2 long screws very securely through the back of the board and into the wedges. I probably should have also used a little bit of glue for added oomph, but I didn't. Then it was just a matter of holding the beginning part of the header in place, making sure it was all level, and attaching directly to the rafters. Then I was ready to place the last horizontal board of the header. I used heavy-duty screws to attach this board to the wedges, checked the level, and now I'm ready to attach my tracks. I waited till after the header was fully in place to measure my jack studs. I'm glad I did this because it actually turned out a little bit shorter than I was expecting.
Switch.
structure of my header is done. I'm going to do a real quick recap of what I did before I continue with some of the trimming and hanging my tracks. So my first step was to find the angle of my ceiling so that I could make these wedge pieces that turn the header from this to something flat that I could hang closet door tracks to. My second step was to find all of the rafters and mark it here on this board. That way I didn't attach any of my wedge pieces the same place where I was going to screw into the ceiling rafters. Next, I attached this piece with large decking screws right into my wedge pieces. And then last, I put in these additional 2x6 supports on both sides, and I attached them to studs in the wall. So this header is being supported in two different directions. It's being supported by the rafters in the ceiling, and it's also being supported by these 2x6s attached to studs in the wall. So my next step is going to be to put in some casing here just to make this look clean and nice. I'm going to use 1x6 primed pine for that, and then I'm going to attach my tracks. Last, I'm actually going to do the trimming of this whole thing. I am going to make some custom closet doors. I will do that in a separate video, but at the end of this video, you're going to see the whole thing come together. Now that I have an extra set of hands, we are ready to put up the tracks, but this is level and it is a 2x6, so I have 6 inches, actually 5.5 inches of space for these 3 tracks, the bypass track plus the additional track. I'm going to trim over the top of this, so I'm going to take this almost to the edge. I'm going to place it up all the way at the end now that I have my casing in. And I'm just going to push it back just a little bit. I have another video that outlines how I made this extra long triple track for my wall-to-wall closet. The quick explanation is I lined up 2 bypass tracks end to end and 2 single pocket door tracks end to end. I did a little bit of work to make sure they lined up really perfect so you couldn't even tell when you slid the door across. Like I said, watch the video if you plan to do this because there is a really great tip that I included. And then I made 3 custom mirrored doors, and I have a video on that as well, and I know you're getting tired of hearing me say that, but this was a complex project, so I had to break it up, otherwise this would be like an hour long. Then I hung the closet doors, and they worked, and that was really satisfying. But I realized pretty quickly that if I didn't make some kind of track, they were going to collide into each other. The way I'm going to do this is I'm going to use a 1x6 mounted to the floor. I'm going to use my table saw to put in deep channels so that these doors can slide along the channels. They're actually going to slide along the channels with a bracket. And I'm only making channels for the first and the second door. The last door will have something that rests on the back of here so that it doesn't kick in. Now this is really so that the doors don't collide with each other, and it's also so they don't swing out real far. So this bracket will be along the back, and I'm going to mount it. And then I'm just going to draw a line exactly where I want to make my channels. The doors didn't hang super level on their own, so the channels and brackets also gave me the opportunity to straighten them out just a little bit. I attached the track directly to the floor with a trim nailer. It was super easy. I attached the brackets to the back of the door while the doors were hung because it was a lot easier just to keep the brackets in the channel and do it that way. And it was all cake after that. All I had to do was attach trim, do some painting, and put the final touches on. And for the final reveal, the useless blank wall becomes an extra long wall-to-wall attic closet and a really efficient use of space. Thanks for watching. This has been Laura from The Unprofessional. To see written instructions for this project and other DIY projects, visit my website, theunprofessional.com. And if you like this video, please don't forget to click the like button and subscribe. I'm going to show you how I did it, give you a few tips and ticks and trips. Okay.